Okay, guys, so we are officially starting our webinar tonight, and Jordan is here. I just want to make a brief introduction that this webinar has been organized by the Weekly Fasting Group. The aim of this group is to cultivate the habit of fasting for 24 hours, at least 24 hours, once a week, on a constant basis, persistently. And if anyone is watching this video and this idea appeals to them, then below the video there are my contact details. My name is Arik and I'm the manager of this group, and you can contact me using the number that is below the video, and I will happily add you to the group. And today we have Jordan with us from the United States. Where do you live in the States?
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. Very good, very good. And Jordan's gonna give us a very inspiring webinar about dealing with cravings. Now, now before that, I'm personally curious, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, about your healing journey, about the milestones on the way, what have you discovered so far? Because many people, including me, we just don't know much about you. So if you could,
Sure.
please could do that. Over to you, Jordan.
Okay. Well, I have been interested in sort of optimal my entire life. I certainly by no means was like a sickly child, but I used to get tonsillitis all the time, and it would knock me out when I was in high school. And that was part of the reason that I just always wanted to seek out the best means of creating health. And like I actually started doing coffee enemas when I was in junior high school. So quite young. I was reading anti-cancer therapy books, natural therapies, you know, when I was 11 and 12. I've just always been seeking the healthiest way to go. In terms of fasting, I didn't fast a lot until about 2006. I started doing what's known as the master cleanse with lemons and cayenne and maple syrup. And I did my first 10-day master cleanse in 2006. And then I did another one in 2007. And then I just ended up doing them yearly and would do just a minimum of 10 days. And then I sort of started, my master cleanses started turning into water fasts. And I just started seeking new information about how to have better fasts. Although I will say the master cleanse in and of itself was pretty extraordinary. Actually, the very first time I did a master cleanse, there was one night where if I was somebody who like went to hospitals, I probably would have taken myself to a hospital, but that's not really me. But I could not breathe, and I was kind of fearful. And the next morning after the purge, I could breathe better than I had been able to breathe probably my entire life. Wow. And because I had asthma as a child, a few years before I did the master cleanse, I had bronchitis, and my lungs have been spectacular since then. And that was 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then I keep seeking a better way, and I discovered dry fasting last year. And I'd heard about it for a while before I started, but I started in about April, I believe. And I've pretty much been sticking to a 36-hour fast once a week. A couple months after that, I started adding in longer ones, 2 days, 3 days, like maybe once a month. And then in October, I did my first sort of extended one. I did about 5.5 days.
Mhm.
And this morning, I ended my first 6.5 day dry fast.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, what an accomplishment. Well done.
And I feel fabulous. And boy, was I looking forward to ending it, but I feel fabulous. And here we are today. Oh, and actually, I will say I do a lot of energetic therapies, and I also teach the science of soap bubbles to kids. So I have a very wide-ranging, bizarre set of skills. But I do a lot of coaching, and I do a lot of energy healing, and then I also work with kids.
Amazing. So what are you teaching to kids? I just didn't get it.
Yes, nobody does it first. I teach the science of soap bubbles, like bubbles
Wow.
that you blow, but only
Yes.
we make amazing things and make huge bubbles and triangular bubbles and put people inside of bubbles and that kind of stuff.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Very nice. Very nice, Jordan. Okay. So cravings is a
Yes.
painful subject, very uh, interesting subject for pretty much everyone who is on this fasting and healing journey. So please enlighten us about that.
Awesome. And I just posted in the group recently about, I think, a quote that sort of spurs me on, that from Mike Tyson, a boxer, who says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And I kind of feel that way about the cravings in the dry fasting process, that people who haven't done it will say, oh, I can do a 10-day dry fast. Just tell me what to do to prepare. And yeah, and then you get in, and then people feel terrible for not being able to continue, and they feel like a failure, which to me is the antithesis of how we should be approaching this. And cravings will come, deal with them, and the more that we do fasts that feel good to our bodies, the more that we will continue to do them and want to continue to do them. And we may never need to do an extended fast, but if we do, the fact that we've been building up our fasting muscles by doing the regular short fasts, it'll make the long fasts so much easier. That being said, we have cravings, whether it's 1 day or 5 days or 10 days or longer. And so let's get into that. One of the most, I'd like to talk about a few different things. Two of them are actually, yeah, some of them are things you can just do on your own. And I hope, does anybody right now have a specific craving that's bothering them right now at this moment? You know what? Think about that, and I'll explain some things, and then we can go into maybe working on something specifically right now. That would be fabulous if we could, but first I'll explain some things.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Speaking about cravings, I crave the spicy, salty things, not sugar anymore. It's been long. It's behind me, but I'm dealing with, like, the spicy cooked things that you smell from the neighbors all the time, these smells. So yeah. I find I crave more salty, spicy food than sweet, than
And
sugar.
does it, do you indulge? Do you not indulge, but it makes you crazy? Do you indulge and don't like the effects? How does that affect you?
All of the above. I try different things. When I restrain from it for too long, then I crave even more. So
yeah,
I'm indulge in it, and then I feel guilty, and well, it's not that I totally lose control, but I try different things, and then when I do try it, when I do go ahead and indulge in it, then it fades, and I see it's not just such a big deal. So then I crave for it less, and I try to get it under control again. And it's a game. It's going going ahead 2 steps, and then regression of 1 steps, and then in general it's getting better, but sometimes there are where you fall and you get up and
Sure, and I might have some advice that sounds totally different from a lot of people that might be telling you, oh, you have to never have this again. Very much like it sounds like your experience. I mean, I have tools to help you, but I also believe that when you sort of stop forbidding it completely, that it becomes easier to let go. That it's the resistance to it that is what's building up the craving to become something so huge, and that by allowing yourself to have some and experience how your body deals with it, and then it doesn't become such a big, scary, hairy deal, and it's easier to let it go next time. So I actually think you're on exactly the right path.
it loses its control over me, the magic, and the spell.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I also I want something spicy and cooked vegetables. So then if I eat, then I decide, okay, I'll cook some vegetables myself instead of buying the processed vegetable salads. So
Mm-hmm.
some compromise, not to compromise a little bit. It's better to eat some homemade cooked vegetables that I make without salt, without all the preservative, than to break and eat these salads that are full of chemicals. Yeah. And so midway, go halfway, sort of.
Okay, awesome. Let's get onto some processes, and then let's see who else has something, and we'll talk about whatever's going on specifically right now and dealing with that. So perfect. So let me explain some of the things that I teach. One, the first, I just think this is huge, is called conscious breathing. And I know we actually just did a webinar on all kinds of breathing techniques, and they're actually all fabulous. So if you haven't listened to them or watched that one, go ahead and watch that, because that is definitely helpful. But what I do is slightly different, but it will connect you to your body, and it'll connect you to the divine, whatever you want to call it, whether it's your soul, whether it's God or source. This breathing will actually connect you. And it's very simple, and you don't have to meditate to do it. You can just do it, and you can do it for 5 minutes. You can take a minute or 2 and do it in times throughout the day. You can do it while you're washing dishes, or if you are drinking water, not while you're dry fasting. You can, every time you take a drink of water, you can do this for a minute. And what it consists of is hearing yourself breathe, and you can do it out loud through your mouth if you like. It's not how I prefer to do it, but just so that you can hear it, you'll go, so you want to hear the breath and then hear it on the way out. What I do is you know when you sort of click inside your head, like you're going to clear your head if you've ever been in an airplane or underwater, you can kind of click your tongue in the back of your throat and you can end up hearing yourself breathe. And if you have a hard time doing that, the easiest way to get started is just to put your hand on your ear. And as you breathe in, it becomes very loud in your head. And what you want to do is breathe in fully and breathe out fully, and no pauses and no forcing. So it's as much as you can do comfortably, both in, and as much as you can do comfortably out, with no forcing on either end and no pauses on either end. And actually, let's all take a moment to do that, and I'll go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do this. You can actually benefit if you can hear me. I don't know how loud mine is on the outside because it's so loud in my inside of my head, but if you can hear me, that would actually help you as well. But let's do a minute of that and then we'll move on to the next thing. So let's start there and go. Just a little bit more. Okay, perfect. So now let's go on to what is called either the peace process or feel the feeling. And this is huge. Every time we have an emotion, and a craving, even though it feels like it's a physical thing, and actually this works for physical things anyway, but whenever we have an emotion, it's really tied into the body physically. And any fear we have is really a fear of a physical feeling. We start feeling anxious. When you feel anxious, you feel it somewhere in your body. And so what we're going to do now, and this is helpful if you have any, whether it's a craving or any just discomfort, memory that you have that you don't like, whatever it is, but specifically you have a craving, pick that now. And notice where in your body you feel that. And generally, let's see where we can find that. It's going to be sort of in the chakras, but I've had clients who have felt it in their arm. I've had clients that have felt it in their legs, but generally it's going to be in the chakra area. And so just check in for a moment and see where you experience that. And then it's time to get curious. What does it feel like? Because it can feel all kinds of different things. So does it feel, one, how big is it? How big is that sensation? And trust that your mind is not going to help you. Your body is what helps you. So your body has all the answers that you need. So find, is it, if it were something anxiety, it might be like a tightness around here. It might be here. It might be here. It might be up in your head. It could be go here. It could be lower. But wherever it is, feel how big it is. Feel, does it have a temperature? What temperature is that? Does it feel like it has any sort of texture? And does it have a density? Does it feel like it's sort of airy, cloudy? Does it feel like it's dense like metal? Just get very curious about all of the aspects that you can discover about it. And the first thing to ask yourself when you start noticing the physical sensation is, can I feel this without trying to make it go away? And if the answer is no, that's still okay. If the answer is no, like, no, I feel this and I've got to get rid of it, then feel that. Feel that resistance, whatever level you can feel without trying to make that go away, feel that level. But if you can feel the physical sensation, awesome. And feel it, notice it, and just keep letting it be okay. I like to think of that physical sensation as being its own entity, and it needs love and appreciation and acknowledgement just like all of us do. And when you love and appreciate and acknowledge that physical sensation, then it starts to communicate with you. It stops needing to be there once you actually listen to it. And you can't do this to make it go away. Because if you're doing this to make it go away, it's going to hang on for dear life. But if you can just let it be and love it and appreciate it for communicating with you, love it and appreciate it for being an entity that deserves love and appreciation, then it will soften and not need to be there any longer. Sometimes this can take a few seconds. Sometimes it's a few minutes. Sometimes it might be a few days of just focusing on it. And some things in life, not necessarily a craving. Cravings you might just revisit, but some issues in life you might be spending days or weeks or longer on it. But most things are going to resolve very quickly. And here's a thing that happens frequently. It'll start to dissipate, and then we go, yay, it's dissipating, go away. And we start focusing on having it go away, and it comes right back full force. So when you get to that point, bring back, not trying to make you go away, I love you and appreciate you, and you can stay as long as you like. I just love and appreciate you for exactly what you are. And that's what's going to let it continue to dissipate. One of the other things that tends to happen is that as you start, thoughts are going to come in. And if they do, okay, we are humans and thoughts come in our head. And sometimes they feel like they are the answer that we're seeking. And we think, oh, okay, we're done. But it's not usually the case. What tends to happen is that thoughts will come in and you can let them pass through, say, thank you, I appreciate that thought. And if it's something you really need to take action on, it's going to stay around. If it's not, it'll pass through and you can continue going back into your body because that's truly where the answers are. And the thing to focus, especially after thoughts come through, is go right back into getting super curious about the sensations and just really focus on exactly what the physical sensations are and see if you can get even more curious about them. See if they've changed. They frequently change. They frequently move or change in intensity or texture or any manner of things. They're going to change. And sometimes they actually get stronger, and that's okay. That's totally okay. And just keep focusing, keep focusing. And does anybody have anything right now that they are currently working on? Okay, I think we do. So let's see. I'm going to add in some things that I can't teach you, but I can do for you. This is called an instant miracle breath. And so you keep focusing on what you're doing, and I'm going to do some breaths that could help sort of speed the process along. It might look like yawning, it might look like weird breathing. It doesn't matter. Just keep focusing on the physical sensations in your body. And you may feel changes when I breathe. That's okay too. And you may not, and that's okay too. And as you're feeling the feeling right now, I want you to see if you can feel where the edges of that sensation are and notice what that feels like. And you can also notice if there is like a center, like a center of the center of the center of that physical sensation. And if you find that, go ahead and take either one finger, all fingers, whatever, even just the palm of your hand, put that over the spot or point to it. I can feel you guys are doing this. This is good. That's right. You guys are doing great. And it's also helpful if you add in some of the conscious breathing that we were doing before. Right now, I really want you to feel that feeling, but if you can add in the conscious breathing on top and it doesn't take you away from feeling that feeling, then go ahead and do that at the same time. Okay. And you can keep doing it, but I just want to check in and see how people are doing. Does anybody have an experience of anything moving, changing, getting bigger, releasing, any of it? Let me know somebody's experience.
I felt blood flowing to my face.
Awesome. And where was the physical sensation going on in your body?
In the stomach.
In your stomach?
Hunger.
And
Yes.
what is the sensation going on in your stomach right now?
Hunger. Just hungry.
Okay, well, hunger is actually a physical sensation. So what is the physical sensation that lets you know you're hungry?
It's uneasy sensation, like a hole there that wants to be filled, vacuum. That.
And how? And that's awesome. That's great, really. But what is the actual physical? Do you feel? Is it a hot sensation in your body? Is it a cold sensation? Is it? What actual physical things are going on that make you feel like that's how you can describe them with like metaphors, but what is the actual physical sensation going on?
It's well, I want to avoid it, to eat something and then it will go away. Sort of.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will if you eat something, but it can also go away through this process. But this is actually really fabulous because this is a completely normal response. See if you can zone in and take a moment to do this. We'll ask somebody else how they're feeling too, but take a moment to feel this and see what are the actual physical sensations going in. Like, do you feel trembling? Does it feel warm? Does it feel like a spiky sensation? But what is the physical sensations that make you think about words to describe them in other ways? So take a moment to do that and we'll come back to you, but let's hear somebody else and see what their physical sensations are. Does anybody else have a?
Yeah, for me, the physical sensation was also in the stomach. And actually, and it was a kind of a little bit of trembling, little bit of like shaking in the stomach, something like that. And yeah, and I also wanted to say that this giving it an attitude as a separate entity and giving it love, it actually makes lots of difference because you know, in terms of really our ability to observe it without identifying with it, without
Mhm.
identifying and without feeling different negative emotions such as fear, hatred, and things like that towards that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I practice vipassana meditation on a daily basis where you actually observe bodily sensations. So that's why it helps me appreciate, appreciate
Yeah.
this observation capacity, like this, what makes you observe better and what makes you observe worse. Like, so this kind of thing. Yeah. And I think it's also this deep breathing also contributes to the ability to observe. So it's good when it goes together. But in any case, yeah, so I could identify it in the stomach, this kind of little trembling, a little bit of trembling in the stomach. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to share.
And did it change through the process?
Yes, it changed. It changed. It's the very fact that I could separate myself from that on one hand, on the one hand, and on the other hand, to reduce some kind of negativity that I'm feeling towards that, and replacing it with positivity, with this viewpoint that I don't need you to go away. You can stay here. I can actually appreciate you, and I can send you love. Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world, because then from there you have much more space to actually decide what you really want towards that, how you would like to act, etc. So it actually makes a whole lot of difference.
Fantastic. Something I realized I forgot to do, but it's not a huge deal, but it would be helpful when you're doing this on your own, is to get what's officially known as a SUDS level, a subjective understanding of discomfort. And so it's good to start by sort of rating the discomfort. And on 0 to 10, 0 is absolutely no discomfort whatsoever, and a 10 is I'm on the verge of dying because I cannot bear this. Like, it's like somebody cut your leg off. And so figure out what level you are, and then when you're done, you can see what the difference is. And we can get everything down to a 0, but we frequently stop when we just reduce it a little bit, because, oh yeah, we reduced it, okay, yay, and we move along. But we actually can, if we stay with it, we can get anything down to a 0.
Mm.
And sometimes it's the 1, like if we were at an 8 or a 9 and we got it down to, a 2, and we work a little longer and we get it down to a 1, and then we go, okay, that's good enough. Sometimes it's the 1 that causes a lot of problems, because when we're at a huge discomfort, we know we have to do something about it. When we have a little discomfort, like a 1, that's when we go, I can live with this. And then we live with pains and cravings and discomforts that we don't have to, and they end up preventing us from doing things, and we don't think about it. When it's a huge deal, we know it and we think about it. When it's not, it's just enough to get us to not take action on something that we don't want to do, or take action when we shouldn't, or something. It's the ones that get in the way that just we're not thinking about how they really are affecting us. So it is good to keep working until we truly clear it.
Very good point. I also wanted to ask about this conscious breathing exercise. So the two main aspects there, as I understand, is on the one hand, you have to hear yourself breathing, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
breathing in and breathing out,
Mm-hmm.
either with holding your hand on your ear or without. But like if I can hear myself without, it doesn't matter, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah, and another one is just breathing without stopping, without pauses. Yeah,
Yes.
breathing.
But fully in without forcing, no pause, out, and out fully without forcing.
Yeah, okay. And for example, in your case, when you do this exercise, how many those cycles of inhaling and exhaling a minute does it take? Because there are certain techniques I can do it deeper, like more deeper or more shallow, without forcing myself. So I can get to the point where I can breathe, for example, 2 or 3 cycles a minute, or it might be 5 or 6. And but they will
Either
be
way
enough.
is yeah, either way is fine.
Okay.
And you can do it as its own meditation for as long as you like, or you can do it for a minute and just do it throughout the day. Do it when you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Do it when you're cleaning. Do it just whenever. You can do it at any time.
Yeah, and does it have the fact that we did it before this locating craving exercise? Does it go together, or it was just, or it's not necessarily, or it does?
Yeah, they are two different things.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the breathing helps to center us, to make it easier to focus on the physical sensation.
Yeah.
But they don't have to go together.
Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, guys, maybe any other people want to share their experiences so far or ask questions? Okay, so I guess we
I
can
actually would love to share something about breathing as well. I'm going to see if I can do this. Okay, I'm going to set this down. We'll see if it'll stay. Here we go.
Okay.
And I'm going to take this off. Okay, so I think most of us have been taught how to breathe incorrectly. I used to do a lot of the belly breathing, and I really would advise a different way than belly breathing. And as a woman, I mean, it's not just for women, but as a woman, as an actor, as a singer, belly breathing it's like this thing I know I'm supposed to do, but I never want to do because I look horrible when I'm doing it. And I think it's something that stops a lot of people, but I also don't think it's physically the right thing for us to do. So this is something to work towards. Keep in mind that I believe it's all about the chest. But by chest breathing, you don't want to go up. That is not chest breathing. That is tension breathing. But you want to breathe so that your back goes out and that your sides go out. When you breathe, you want your chest to expand in every direction. And then there's no need for belly breathing. Your belly could be as tight as a drum, and you can still breathe very deep breaths. And you actually end up getting more air in when you focus on releasing your entire chest cavity out to the sides and out to the back. And you will actually find that it will release tension so much better than if you're working on trying to breathe with your belly. And it might actually be hard at first, but the more that's hard because we store a lot of tension in this area. But the more that you work on pushing out and pushing out here, you will actually expand your rib cage. You'll have less tension in your whole back. You'll have less tension in your shoulders, less tension all around your body, and you will be able to breathe so much more deeply on a regular basis. And so I encourage everybody to start working on doing proper chest breathing. And I think it makes a huge, huge difference.
Mm. Very interesting. Is it related to the Buteyko method of breathing? Have you heard about Buteyko's method of breathing? Buteyko was...
I do know about that. I learned this separate from that. But yes, I'm sure. I mean, I think it helps all forms of breathing. So there's that.
Okay, very interesting.
And does anybody else? Oh, Revital, would you like to? Do you feel like, have you found the physical sensations going on that you describe as hunger?
It's discomfort. It's discomfort. It's in the background. When I'm busy, I can go for hours. When I'm distracted, then I don't notice it. But if I am not busy enough or not distracted enough, then it comes. So I realize that it's also a matter of the mood I'm in or other things. It's not just it's not not a pain, it's discomfort. It could come because of boredom, or because of, like, if I'm not engaged in something that consumes me. If something really interests me, then I don't even remember, I don't even feel it. But so I feel that it's relative. It depends.
Sure. Okay.
So it's not that bad. Not that bad, but yeah, well, that's about it. But you know, it comes when I don't have anything else to do, any other thing to do. So it sort of fills the.
I'm going to give you a challenge to take with you, to when you feel it, no matter what it is, to do anything and everything you can to stay out of the head, stay out of the mind, and focus back into the physical experience of your body. And whenever you can, I mean, it's great to be distracted by whatever project you're working on, but when you are experiencing something, I would love to see, I want to hear back from you in the group. Feel the actual physical sensations that are letting you know you have discomfort. Like, the discomfort is there. So how do you know that you have discomfort? You have discomfort because there are specific physical sensations that are going on inside your body. So see if you can narrow down and really focus on the physical sensations. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe emptiness.
What does emptiness feel like? How do you know you're empty? What does that physically feel like?
Because I know that if I'll eat, I won't feel it anymore. It's sort of, I'm lacking something.
But if you don't eat and it's still there, what is the physical sensation that lets you know you feel emptiness? That's
discomfort.
Where the magic is.
It's discomfort. It's not nice. It's nudging me. Sort of. I don't want to feel it anymore.
They're great descriptions of how you interpret the physical sensations. And that's the interpretation of the feeling is what makes it easy to say, I just want it to go away. But when you narrow down on the physical, actual physical sensations, like emptiness. I don't feel empty right now, so it's hard for me to like give a physical descriptor to what that is. I might have been able to yesterday.
Can I add something? What helps me to locate it better and to actually get on the body plan is when on the body level is when I ask myself where I feel it in the body, because the mind comes with all those things like it is emptiness, it is discomfort, but all those are labels, they're definitions. They're not the actual physical sensation. So in my case, when I ask myself, okay, where I'm feeling it, where, okay, in my right hand, in the stomach, in the chest, then when I locate the place, I might go there, I might concentrate, I might really try to locate the edges of it or what kind of sensation is there. But this question, where I feel it, for me, it's a very powerful question. Helps me.
I agree. That's always my first question.
Yeah, where? And then even when the mind comes with I'm afraid, I have fear. Okay, where? Okay, where? The first question, and then what kind of a sensation is there?
Maybe it's a little burn, not that terrible, sort of burning, and I want to put out the fire, with food. It's a little burn, not so. It's not something that I can't live with. It's not that bad, but a little burn, something.
So, if there's ever a time when the main focus is that I've got to make this go away, then basically I've got to make this go away is resistance, which is going to continue that sensation and that experience. And if that's the case, then that's the thing you need to work on. I just want this to go away, that feeling, where in your body do you experience what you label as I just want it to go away? And feel where in your body. Okay. So, but is it your stomach? Your stomach is hungry, but is that the sensation of I just want it to go away?
What do you mean? I don't know, maybe could it just be a physical feeling that I'm hungry?
It could be, but if you're fasting, if you are choosing not to, if you're feeling hungry and you're not fasting, go eat. It's not an issue. It's not. But if you are fasting and you're not eating and you have this, then it helps enormously to send that physical sensation your love and appreciation. And that will
understand, but
kind of do the same job as eating. Because it will
but just like I said before.
Go ahead.
Just like I said before, I feel that it's relative. Sometimes I could go for hours, even a whole day without eating, without being hungry, because I'm occupied with something else. But sometimes I'm hungry because I know I don't have anything else to do. I'm just bored, and it's just looking for something to make me feel good. So if you eat something, not because the body needs it, I know it doesn't need it. It's because you want to indulge in something, just feel good. So that's what I'm saying. It's relative. I understand now that hunger is not necessarily because you really need to eat. It's because maybe you're bored, maybe you're looking for something to comfort yourself with, just to make you feel good, to boost to feel better.
Well,
so that's what I'm saying.
This process will work with that, but it's not the only process. if in that situation, there are lots of things that you could do. You could meditate, you could do breathing exercises, you could do certainly the conscious breathing that helps to connect you to the divine. But this exercise of feel the feeling definitely will. But when it's a matter of I'm just doing this because I'm bored, well, you can fill that boredom with all kinds of things. And this is one of them. Meditation is a huge way of dealing with that. Doing a breathing exercise, which could be another form of meditation, is another amazing way of dealing with that. But those are choices about what to do with your time and your attention. And that can help you. This could be just one tool in your toolbox on how to deal with where to put your attention. But because it sounds like it's really just a matter of like what most humans deal with, which is eating just to fill time, space, boredom, whatever. And this will help. But if you're on sort of this head mind level, it's okay to find a mind head way of doing something else to pass that time. It's perfectly okay to distract yourself with something else, whether it's a cleaning project or going out for a walk or meditating or breathing or dancing, putting on fun music. But there's all kinds of fun things that you can do if it's a matter of boredom. This is certainly one of them, but it's just one. So there, and you have a plethora of choices to choose when it comes to that.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I want to ask, oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I said I understand that, so you're right.
Okay. Does anybody else have an experience that they want to talk about this, the peace process or the feel of feeling? And if not, that's okay, but this is a perfect opportunity to get a little coaching on how to refine the process. Oh, be a lion. Your mic is off.
Sorry. Hi, Jordan. Thank you. That
Hi.
was a very, very interesting process. I really like it, and I'm excited to try it because I do have a lot of issues, with cravings, and I know I'm not hungry, but it's just like a sensation in my mouth sometimes when I'm thinking about my next meal, or if I'm in with a group of people and they're all eating, foods that I don't want to eat, but that I used to eat, that I know how great they taste and all that, and then I can't stop myself, So it's a sensation in my mouth. It's like salivating, And when we were doing the exercise today, I was thinking about, okay, I'm going to have some soup after the call, and I'm already, gearing up for that, So I was trying to feel the sensation in my body, and it was in my left elbow first. So then when I touched it and I was with it for a while, it started to subside. And then I noticed that the back of my neck was getting really tight and tense, and I was putting my head forward. And so that was a lot stronger. So I put my hands on that and I tried to be with that. And, here I thought I was sitting perfectly relaxed. But then I noticed that I wasn't. I had all this tension, in different parts of my body. So it was very interesting.
Fantastic. And there's actually an experience that we call chasing the pain. And frequently it will move. And that's okay. And when it moves, this is why it's so important to keep your focus on your body, because when it moves, you want to move your attention to the new spot with it. And so that was a fabulous example of how our sensations will move for the same issue, or at least sides of the same issue. And so, yeah, that was a great example.
And I'm curious about the method of breathing that you were using while we were, will you be teaching that as well? That was like kind of yawning? Oh,
I am not authorized. It has been bestowed upon me, so I'm not authorized to teach that. But I can tell you more about it in the future. But yeah, that's not something I can teach.
Okay.
But did you experience any differences when I was doing those? You don't have to, but if you did.
I can't say that I really noticed any big change. No.
Okay, totally fine. Any other input from anybody? And it's okay
These
if not.
breathings. Now, these breathings, what did you do? You tried to pass energy to us?
They do anything and everything. I mean, it's called the instant miracle breath. And once I do them a lot, I do them kind of every day, but I don't do them, they do me. It comes up as like, I can't suppress it when it comes up. And so as it comes, I just allow it and do that. But I do that a lot. I do it for strangers in lines or places wherever. If I see somebody in discomfort, I will like, it comes up for me to send them this instant miracle. And it is a miracle. They do all kinds of fun things, but it's not necessarily that I'm thinking I'm sending this person energy. It just sort of like, the divine knows what to do, and it takes the breath and it does something, whatever needs to be done. It's not for me to know what needs to be done.
I did feel something. I felt the blood flowing. I felt it in my face, though the problem wasn't in the face. But
that's what you needed.
maybe. I know that when you yawn, there's more oxygen that goes into the brain. When you yawn, you breathe more oxygen. So.
Yeah, there is definitely that too. Yeah. Any other experiences? It's okay if we don't. We can move on. That's totally fine.
Sorry, I would like to ask why it is hard to define, realize our sensation, and why we don't, realize easily. What is the reason?
Practice. That's all it is. It's just because it's not something you're used to doing normally. And the more that you focus on it, the easier it becomes. I had a client who, when we first started, no matter how much we worked on it, her sensations were always like up here, floating above her head. And it took a long time of just working on it for her to realize they actually were in her body, but she didn't want to acknowledge them. And eventually she did, and now it's like her favorite thing ever. So But it's just practice. And the more that you focus on it, the easier it becomes.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Do we need any more? Should we end this? Is any last call? Does anybody want to share an experience?
Okay, let's continue, I think, and then if anyone wants to share, they will just get in and share.
Okay. Do you want to continue by working on the physical sensation that we were, go back to it, or this, because I actually, there is something else to teach, but I think it's going to take a lot more time. I think it's going to be its own webinar. But I just want to ask, is anybody familiar, because there's another form that you can work on your own called EFT, which is Emotional Freedom Technique and tapping. And I've been also doing that forever. And I actually encourage you to look it up, but I would be happy to teach something, but I think it is going to take a little more time than it would be sort of an excessively long meeting. But I still do encourage you to check it out. But that is something that will absolutely help with cravings as well.
Yeah.
So,
Jordan, maybe you could tell us about your personal strategies, because you are doing those prolonged fasting like you have been doing now. And do you get cravings like at your stage right now? Do you get cravings while you're fasting? And what are your strategies of dealing with your cravings if you do get them?
sure. And the cravings that I get now, well, mostly, it's interesting because when I first start, the first few days of a fast, I love to cook. I love recipes, whether it's, and I will say I'm an omnivore. I eat cooked foods. I eat raw foods. I eat meat. I eat everything. I'm a former vegetarian. I was vegetarian for 23 years. And I want to cook in the first few days of my fast. Like, I get really interested in creative things the first few days of my fast. And it's interesting, if I had ended my fast early, I probably would have gone on to cook a bunch of things. But because I went on longer, I have no interest in doing that. I might, I'm sure I will eventually, but right now I couldn't care less. I want my celery juice. I want my sprouts. I want, I want all the things that you would sort of expect after a long fast. It's water. Like, I am a water junkie. I love water. I love to sit and drink warm water. I love to sip hot tea. I love just drinking a glass of water. It doesn't have to be fancy. And if I were to see a glass of water, actually, I'll give you experience from one of my first, I think it was either a 2 or a 3 day fast. I was watching Iron Chef. Don't do that. Learn from me. Don't do that. But the food is always so creative and amazing. But I couldn't have cared less about the food. I was staring like a mad woman at the little glasses of water they had on their table. That to me was like all I wanted. And I definitely use this when I'm dealing with the water cravings. And sometimes I actually do rinse my mouth out with water, but I don't recommend it, because once you do, then it becomes harder. And certainly if you are going to do it, I recommend don't do it until you're going to bed, because the earlier you do it in the day, the harder the rest of the day is going to be.
You mean rinsing the mouth with water? Yeah, that's what you mean?
Yes, yes, exactly. It is helpful. I do soft dry fasts. I don't do the hard dry fasts. If you're doing hard dry fasts, don't do that. But I do the soft dry fasts, and the rinsing is helpful, but again, it's just like it spurs you on to want it even more. And unfortunately, I've been on the phone a lot, and that makes me then want to rinse my mouth even more, because when we talk a lot, our mouth gets dry. But I also, yeah, I do the energetic stuff for the cravings for water a lot.
So your main strategies are what you taught us today and EFT. So those are your main strategies, or you have anything more?
Those are the most powerful. I mean, if there are more, the conscious breathing, the peace process of feeling the feeling, and the EFT are huge. You really don't need more than that.
Yeah, we should organize a special webinar about EFT. I know it's a great technique. I have never had the chance to really learn it, but I had few friends who did it. So yeah, got great feedbacks about that.
And I do have, it's not listed under my name. I think it's listed under eHow. I do have some videos on YouTube of me teaching EFT that I made a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you would, I think, don't look for monks. It's before I was married, Jordan Savage, and you'll find me under that.
Yeah, maybe we could put a few links below this video. Yeah,
sure.
Just send it to me. Yeah. Okay, guys. So does anyone else have any feedbacks or any sharings? Any questions?
Yes, can I ask you, well, that's a personal question. Why did you go back to eating meat after so many years of being vegetarian, raw vegetarian, and also the fact that you fast? I mean, you continue this lifestyle, so why go back to?
To me, it wasn't about going back to something. It was listening to my body. I had been vegetarian for much longer than I was not a vegetarian. And it started with kind of a voice in my head. It started with my body telling me that it was time for me to start eating meat. And I did not want to hear it. I thought it was the grossest thing ever. To me, meat wasn't food. And it was really hard for me to hear that. That went on for about 6 months, and I just kept hearing this, that I was supposed to be eating meat. And I was like, ugh, no. And I was meeting with an intuitive healer, and you may have heard of him, Mas Sajati. And he had his hand on my back, and he said, tell me about your diet. And I told him that I was extremely healthy and that I was a vegetarian. And I said, but I keep hearing this voice that I'm supposed to be eating meat. And he goes, yeah, that's why I asked you are. And he said, you do not have to have it all the time, but your body is telling you to eat meat. And now take this however you want to take this. he said, know that the animals consider it a noble sacrifice and that they are happy to do this for you when you consume it with love and appreciation. And I went home and bought some grass-fed meat on the way home and shocked the heck out of my husband. And I cooked it up and had some meat. And the very first day, now I had a couple instances over my time of being vegetarian where I had accidentally eaten some fish and I would be laid out for like 3 days. My body could not handle it. And I had zero problems eating the meat when I ate it. My body wanted it. And so I am a firm believer in listening to your body and honoring your body and not a dogma. And that is exactly why I started eating meat.
It's it's interesting. It's two extremes: fasting and eating meat. Like, it's two extremes. So
I don't see how they are incompatible.
Because I think, well, I don't know if fasting is a lot about detox and health issues. So, and eating meat is like there's a spectrum where you say what is bad. Like there's raw. First of all, there's fruit juices, and then there's also whole juices and vegetables and fruit. I mean, there's a whole spectrum, and meat is at the very end of the spectrum. Fasting, then fruit juices, and so seems like
that is absolutely one way of looking at it. I just don't believe it's the only way.
Yeah, I would like to also say
that's
there are many different approaches to that. It's just what Vital said is just one viewpoint. There are many different approaches and many different viewpoints. So yeah.
So I'm trying to. I'm listening to other people. That's interesting to learn from other people.
Yeah.
Points of view, and
that's the main thing. Just to listen, to remain open-minded. Yeah, I would love to get back to cravings because we received few questions in the group. Of course, you might say that those techniques that you said are universal, but maybe you could add something in relation to that particular question. So, for example, the one was, "Hello everyone, I'm Sushma. I'm new in this group. I think this woman is present here, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and my craving is I love sweet. I have okay, I love sweet. So first of all, Sushma, do you have anything to add to your question?
Um, no, because I realized today when I decided to do my fast, because I'm quite a strong believer when I decide to do something, and I'm perfectly good when nothing craving today. Just I had a celery and apple juice twice, and that's my end, and then I will be doing up to tomorrow. And yeah, I just listen, and it's first time I'm in the group like this kind of organization, and I never had anything like this before, but I always believe myself. I really like this communication and my lifestyle. I always choose what I want to do in my life. So like today, before I start my fast, I went for a long walk and come back, and I visualize myself. Then when I go home, I make little bit my fresh aloe vera in hot water. So because it was very cold outside. And after that, I just not think about food. I listen to the sister, and because she love cooking, I love cooking and create my own recipes all the time. So it's very hard to less
eat less whenever I'm always watching new recipes. So it's like a give up food. That's why because I gained little bit weight, and this is good opportunity for me to join the group. So in the group I can minimize my weight doing fast every week, which I already started 2nd of December, 2nd of January, my detoxing. So I am on gluten-free diet, so just more vegetables, soups and fruit. And this is my today's 15th 14th day, and now today I'm doing this fast. So yeah, but I love sweet, like anything after eating I fancy to have. So I just eat some dates sometime or raisin little bit. So I give up chocolate actually, and any Indian sweet, because they have so much calories and so much sugar. So I just replace them to the raisin. Sometime I take few, or dates when I um, feel like sweet.
I think, I mean, I'm all for having a couple dates or raisins if you are craving something sweet.
Mm.
I have I have a way of going about this, about cravings, especially for sweets, but really anything that may go against a lot of what people believe already. But I'm going to say it because I find it hugely helpful. I would say do a lot of work and put a lot of effort into being as healthy and clean as you can.
Yeah.
But do not forbid yourself entirely the sweets that you are craving. And here's why. When you forbid yourself something, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. I have a few examples of this. When you allow yourself to have it, and it's not a failure, you are simply going to track your results.
Yeah.
And for years, actually, when I was still vegetarian, I used to be about 1.5 me. I was at least 50 pounds overweight. And the number one thing I did is I stopped forbidding myself food. And like, one of the things I didn't understand how anybody could eat a cookie. Like, if I wasn't allowed to have cookies. So if I did have a cookie, I ate an entire package because it was like there's only so much willpower you could have.
Yeah.
And same like with the French fry. And French fries are not the best thing to have no matter what anyway, but if I had a French fry, I would eat a ton of French fries. And once I stopped forbidding myself food, all of a sudden, I probably went overboard a few times, but all of a sudden, I could have a French fry. I could have a cookie. And because nothing was forbidden, having one didn't cause all kinds of damage and guilt in my head. And it's the guilt that makes you then eat more. Beating yourself up does nothing but make you, when you have shame and embarrassment, all it does is block blood supply to your brain, and then you don't think well, and then you end up causing yourself more harm. But when you allow yourself to enjoy it, then you can enjoy less. And I actually ended up losing so much weight so fast when I stopped forbidding myself food. And I did the same thing with coffee. And actually, I will still drink coffee every once in a while, but I used to be completely addicted to coffee. And I would go on a coffee holiday. I'm never going to have coffee again. I'm never going to have coffee again. And then I would, maybe I'll just try a little bit. And then I was up to having all kinds of coffee again. And then I stopped forbidding myself to have coffee. And I would have some, and it wasn't a big, hairy deal. And I stopped needing to have it every day because I stopped forbidding it. And eventually, my desire for it just started falling away because it wasn't something I had to overcome anymore. And so for me, when it comes to stuff like sweets and all the things that were like, never gonna do this, have those things. But track how you feel with no shame, no guilt. Just if you eat sweets and then the next day you feel like crap, it doesn't mean you have to beat yourself up for it. You just go, oh, you know what? When I eat that, I don't feel very good afterwards. I treasure feeling good over that experience. And then the next time you do it, you go, you know what? The last time I did this, I felt really bad afterwards. I feel really bad right now. I don't like this feeling. Maybe I'm not going to have it next time, or maybe I'll have less next time. And you don't have to cut everything out of your life from today on. It's okay if you cut it out 5 years from now, but you've been tracking it as you go, or a year from now, whatever it is. But when your goal is just allow and listen to your body and see what your body is telling you and honor that. And if feeling good is something that's important to you, then that will fall away on its own accord without you having to work so hard to do it.
Thank you. I just find out because I think that was my weakness was when I was emotionally disturbed, and that's the time I was eating more. But because I'm practiced more on more meditation now, and now I write it down when my emotion comes and where it is tracking me, and then I realize that I can change my habits because this is two different things, and I start looking at it, and then I start practice. Yeah, so I don't give hard time to myself. Yes, if I feel like eating, I eat, but not let it happen that I'm emotionally disturbed and I go and have 2-3 chocolate. So I stop that. And yeah, I do love cooking. I make my own sweets, a different way I make things, and which is healthy and make me satisfied as well as. So thank you to invite me in this group, and there's more to learn, and it's good. It's new year started with new things, and I like to be continue, and because I like to be healthy, so I love yoga, I love bicycling, I love nature, I love gardening, and which is I can't do at the moment because it's winter in London and it's everywhere dark and cold. So I create something else to occupy myself. So do lots of meditation at the moment because it's no work, it's lockdown, and yes, so it's a very challenging time past year and coming this time, but I have to fix myself, fit into whatever the situation coming, and finding new way of living and understand my body as well. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
You're most welcome. And then we have another question from.
Thank you.
And we have another question.
Oh, Arik, I can barely hear you.
Yeah.
How is it now? Can you hear me?
I can't hear
Not
either.
really, not yet.
Okay.
Problems. You have
How is
problems.
it now? Can you hear
No.
me?
No.
Just
Feel bad.
okay.
I just wanted to say that would be fascinating emotional release. I have heard something about it. So you said you can teach us this technique of emotional release.
Yes, it's called emotional freedom technique. And it's a system of tapping on specific points of the body, and it just helps wash stuff away.
Can you hear me now, by the way?
No,
You sound like you are a million miles away. We could hear you before.
Really? Okay.
I wanted to share something. When I went, I went through a detox process, few months that I was raw vegan, and it changed. It made me feel good, and I realized that a lot of the toxins affect our head, being worried and being anxious, and it's not a matter, a lot of emotions, negative emotions, being neurotic and worrying and being frightened, and just like what's happening now, everybody's panicked. And also a lot of children today, I'm a teacher, I teach, so a lot of children have concentration problems, focusing. Also, they need Ritalin, they have all kinds of emotional problems. And it's just about physical toxins. It's not like it's an emotional problem or psychological problem. It's just toxins that go into your head, just like you have just like it affects you physically, it also affects you psychologically and emotionally. And the problem is not psychological or some problem in your head. It's just about the toxins. And once you detox, not only you're healthier physically, you've got, and I noticed that a lot of emotions, it's just you don't have to live with it. I mean, they affect you. A negative emotion, they have emotions that have a bad effect on you, and once you're free of it, you're so much lighter, and you're so much more focused, and you're so much relaxed. And I don't understand all the people panicking around me about this pandemic. I've read it somewhere. Pandemic is like, it's planned, it's not real. It's yeah, that's what I think. And people are so panicked and so scared, and they just don't think. And
okay, Rebecca, so we what is your question, because we still have few questions about cravings.
Okay, it's not a question, it's just it just interests me. Yeah, it's just interested me, this emotional release or relief.
Okay, we will try to prepare a special webinar about that. I think it will interest lots of people. But so can you hear me now? I'm talking closer to the microphone. That's great.
Yeah.
So Natalia, she's not present right now. She's asking about cravings. Sometimes on liquid fasts, there is a strong craving to put something solid in the mouth, to chew on, something substantial. Okay, I was using bee pollen granules that melt and trickle down the throat as liquid. Is there another way to address or redirect this desire? So what would you answer to this question?
The two things I would say for that is, one, do the things in here that we talked about today. For the cravings, do the same thing for craving the sensation of chewing. They will help enormously. The other thing is chew your liquids. You're not going to have resistance because it's a liquid, but chew it. We should be chewing our liquids anyway, and the physical act of chewing is something that we humans want and need to do. So when you are drinking a juice or a smoothie or whatever it is, make sure that you chew it and you hopefully will satisfy at least part of that craving. Now, in terms of finding the resistance, like a resistance that you would get by chewing down on a carrot, that you can do the emotional techniques that we were using today, whether it's the feel the feeling or the breathing will help, but mostly that feel the feeling is going to make a huge difference.
Very interesting. Yeah, I also remember reading somewhere some people just chew on ice, which is actually water, but it's solid. So it just came to my mind. I have never tried it, but yeah.
If you do, make sure you chew on like crushed ice and not ice cubes.
Yeah.
Because you could lose your teeth by chewing on the ice cubes.
Yeah. Okay, and then Karen also asked, maybe you know, I think it pretty much has been answered, but she says, last weekend during my dry fast, I was craving pizza and cheesy garlic bread. So I guess the question is, what should I do? What should I have done?
All the stuff that we talked about today really is the number one thing, but also just knowing that generally if you're fasting and that's what you're craving, then it's probably the fact that you are releasing toxins that have been stored in your fat. And every time when our toxins are constantly being stored in our fat. And every time we are breaking down fat cells, we're releasing that back out into the body, which can then be disposed of. On a dry fast, it's usually sort of incinerated. But knowing that you're sort of breaking down a level of fat that is releasing those particular toxins, I find is going to be helpful. But then it's not always enough. So that's where the peace process, the feel the feeling, is going to make the biggest difference.
Good. And then we have a question from Zainab, also about sweet cravings, but we pretty much discussed it. She, this person says, thanks a lot. Sweet cravings are unfortunately one of my greatest challenges. By the way, okay, so that's, we pretty much answered it about sweets. Okay, and okay, so those were the questions. And I also wanted to ask you, Jordan, have you noticed any difference in cravings during the fasting in relation to the way how you entered the fast, whether you did any kind of particular cleanse or mindset or things like that, or no difference?
Usually I kind of just jump into a fast. This time.
So you don't do any like enemas, empty bowels?
Actually, I do. I mean, I do coffee enemas pretty regularly. So I do those. That's sort of a regular part of my life. But this time I did 3 days of the lemon ginger grape, and it actually, I don't even know if I sort of did it right, but I probably could have consumed more, but I also wanted to make sure that I was preparing myself to lighten up before the fast. So I was a little hungry in the days before I started my dry fast, but it made dry fasting very easy in that I wasn't hungry.
How much would you consume of this lemon ginger grape juice?
I was sort of keeping it to, I mean, it was not exact, but I was keeping it to about 600 calories a day maximum.
And you consumed it as a juice, not the grapes, the fruit itself.
Right.
Like just juices.
Yeah, on Monday I ate grapes, and then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I did the juices, and then on Friday before I started I was doing more like coconut water and stuff, and then I started on Friday.
Okay.
But lightening the load quite a bit, it certainly, like, I was thirsty, but I truly, I wasn't hungry. So that also did help with the cravings.
Okay.
I think mostly it's just because I went into ketosis so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. Does anyone have any more questions, preferably about cravings, which is our subject tonight, but also about other things related to fasting? I have a question about your daily activities. So while fasting, are you able to fully maintain your regular lifestyle in terms of work, maybe some other obligations?
Yes, in fact, I'm hoping to do this without having to do the work next time. But when I do work with kids, it is highly physical and highly physically demanding. I'm carrying, normally I carry 40-pound buckets. I lightened my load by adding more buckets, so it was a mere 35 pounds per bucket. But I'm carrying them around because I have bubble solution. I'm in a show, I might do probably at least 300 squats. I'm also doing full body things, heavy things over my head. Plus, I'm hyper enthusiastic and basically talking nonstop for an hour while being really physical. And I had to do a show. I mean, normally I can do like 3-4 shows or even more a day. I'm a physical person. But when I started Friday night. On Saturday I had a show, and on Sunday I had a show, and they were exhausting. And while I did them, I think it probably made my fast a little bit harder this time. And I would prefer, and I have another show today, and so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure I stopped and gave myself time to hydrate before I do one. There's no way I could have done it with the dry mouth of day 7.
Yeah.
And so, but I also, I went on a hike. The day before yesterday, I went on a 3-mile hike in LA, and I went slowly. And towards the end, I was like, was this the best idea? I don't know, but it was beautiful. And I had business phone calls throughout the week, and yeah, I managed to do them all, even while dry fasting. So I'm sure a lot of that, though, is what led me to wanting to rinse my mouth. But yeah, I held up a really active week while dry fasting.
That's amazing. Amazing. Okay, guys. So if you don't have any more questions, maybe we are going to wrap it up soon, unless you have any more questions, guys. Let's see.
Yes, Arik, I would like to ask Jordan if when you're not fasting in between your long dry fasts, do you do any intermittent dry fasting, or do you try to, eat within a certain time window?
I do. I've been intermittent fasting for years, and not every single day, but most days, but not intermittent dry fasting, just intermittent fasting. And since it was about last April that I started doing the weekly 36s, and a couple months into that, I started adding in 2 to 3, usually 3-day fasts as well, dry fasts as well, like once per month. And then, so I've just continuing doing 36 weeklies, and then once a month I'd throw in a 72. And then I did my first 5.5-day dry fast in October. And then this is now my second extended one. And I don't know, I'm not going to do them every 3 months. I think I might do an extended fast maybe twice a year. But I will continue doing 36s and 72s once, 36s weekly and 72s once monthly. Absolutely. I just think it makes life so much easier when you can, like, how important detox is. When you do the regular short fasts, you're able to get you get the toxins out of you on an easy schedule. Like, you get a little bit out, and maybe it's not everything, but you get a little bit out. And the next time you do it, you get a little bit more out. The next time, a little more. And then, so when you do the extended dry fasts, they're easier because you're not overloaded with so much stuff from, your childhood coming up.
Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Okay, Jordan, so towards the end, I would like to ask you, what kind of services can you provide in case any one of our members or people who are watching this video is interested? So it will probably be online because we are a big international group.
Yeah.
What kind of services are you providing? What kind of problems can you help the person with?
I do a number of, I'm a coach. I do these and some other energetic techniques while I am coaching. And I mean, when I started, I was just sort of doing sort of general success coaching, and whether it's somebody trying to find a new job or family problems or whatever it is, a goal, I could do it. And I still do that. But I've also I've worked with people with multiple personality disorders and helped to combine their personalities. I've worked with people with all kinds of aches and pains and issues with emotional traumas. I mean, the list is kind of endless, but I also I'm an avid researcher, and I've been doing a lot of like age reversal therapy, and I have a lot of tools in my tool shed for that. So I actually do a lot of age reversal coaching now.
Could you please extend about that? How does it go exactly?
Sure, and actually fasting is a big part of that because stem cells. But there are lots of ways that you can go about increasing your stem cells and autophagy and telomeres, and I help people sort of find the best fit for them. I also use some patches, which I haven't showered yet, so I don't have them on yet, that stimulate processes in the body that one actually gets your body to produce stem cells. There's a patch that helps your body to produce glutathione, which helps draw out all the heavy metals. And I work with those as well as the healing techniques, as well as advising on fasting, as well as advising on other detox measures like the coffee enemas and so on. And then also the emotional turmoil that people are going through during this whole process. So I sort of do in all of the above. I teach people how to breathe and physical resources they can do, how to detox, how to rebuild, physical exercises that help to sort of really not just maintain but reverse the aging process. And I sort of do I'm a kitchen sink person. I'm like, if it's going to help, let's do it. And I combine everything that I know to produce results.
Amazing, gorgeous. So, Jordan, we will put your contact details below this video.
in case people want to contact you and ask you personal questions. Yes, guys, and for now, I think we're going to wrap it up, and hopefully we'll have you another time or another few times.
Fantastic.
For me, this webinar was really, really amazing and life-changing. So thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so have a nice weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Happy fasting.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Eric. And
Bye.
Jordan, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
My
you, guys.
pleasure.
Love and
Bye.
light to
Bye.
everyone.